afternoon of campus to you. So for today we are in University Putra Malaysia, the Faculty of Medicine and Health Science. So what do you think of the place? I think it's gorgeous enough. I mean, for a faculty that has been very well established.
Sha la 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 la
and
la
it's
la.
very much all together incorporated.
Dana, look.
What?
Look at that, yo.
Oh my god, Amanda is fell. She's bleeding. We have to take her to the hospital now. Cancel off, faster. Doctor, just now there was this one patient. She was bleeding pretty bad. She came from the university. How is she?
Okay, she's very serious right now. She having a severe bleeding, and then we need to transfuse the blood. So, are there any person who volunteer to transfuse the blood?
What's her blood type, doctor?
She is O negative.
I'm O negative, doctor. Please save her first.
Okay, but miss, you have to bear in mind that it is not an easy procedure. We have to conduct several screening tests, and then we need to run the Coombs Test to see the ABO and RH incompatibility.
Coombs Test?
Yeah.
What is that?
Let's watch the video.
Attention.
Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon everyone. Our topic for today is Coombs Test. So what is Coombs Test? Coombs Test is also known as antiglobulin test. The Coombs Test is a test for antibodies that might stick to the red blood cells and cause red blood cells to shrink. This test was first discovered by Morant and Weiss in 1945. Coombs reagent is anti-human globulin. It is made by injecting human globulin into animals, which produce polyclonal antibodies specific for human immunoglobulin and human complement system factors. The main reagent used in antiglobulin test is anti-human globulin AHG, also called serum anti-human globulin, is an IgG antibody directed against human immunoglobulin or complement components. The Coombs test is in two forms, direct test and indirect test.
Next is function of Coombs test. Coombs test is divided into two types of Coombs test. The type of Coombs test is direct and indirect Coombs test. For the direct Coombs test, the direct Coombs test is used to detect antibodies that are stuck to the surface of red blood cells. These antibodies sometimes destroy red blood cells and cause anemia. This test is carried out if patients have signs or symptoms of anemia or jaundice. Next is indirect Coombs test. It is look for free-flowing antibodies against certain red blood cells. It is most often done to determine if you may have a reaction to a blood transfusion.
Doctor, I still don't get what this Coombs test has got to do with blood transfusion. This girl is dying over here. I don't get why we have to do this.
That's why you need to know the underlying principle behind the Coombs test. Let's watch.
So, welcome back. Now we'll look at the principles of Coombs test. Before we could move on, let's look back to the basics. In a certain disease or condition, an individual's blood may contain IgG antibodies that can specifically bind to the antigens that are present on the red blood cells. This means that an antigen will be specifically bounded by its respective antibody. Now, for the step-by-step outline, so the red cells will be coated with complement or IgG antibodies that do not agglutinate directly when centrifuged. This means that when you directly take the red blood cells and centrifuge them, you would not have any form of agglutination occurring. These cells are said to be sensitized with IgG or complement. Therefore, in order for agglutination to occur, an additional antibody, which reacts with the Fc portion of the IgG antibody or with the C3b or C3d component of complement must be added into the system. As you can see, with the addition of the additional antibody, after centrifuging it, your sample will agglutinate. This is because antibodies are gamma globulins. An antibody to gamma globulins can form bridges between red cells sensitized with antibody, therefore causing them to agglutinate. Thus, we have our results. So, for further visual depiction of the Coombs Test principles, you may view the link that has been stated below. Beware, it is not an hyperlink, therefore you have to type it one by one. But for further understanding, please do view. Thank you.
Next, we move on to the Coombs test. For the first part is direct Coombs test. Before that, we have to know the example of the disease that give positive direct Coombs test. For the first one is alloimmune hemolysis, which include hemolytic disease of the newborn and alloimmune hemolytic transfusion reaction. For the next one is autoimmune hemolysis, which include warm antibody autoimmune hemolytic anemia and also cold antibody immunohemolytic anemia. And for the next one is drug-induced immune-mediated hemolysis, which include methyl-dopa, penicillin, and quinidine. The step involved for the first one is blood sample is obtained from patient of immune-mediated hemolytic anemia, and we have to wash 3 times with the normal saline. And then we have to add 2 drops of Coombs reagent and then centrifuge at 1500 rpm for 1 minute. And then we have to resuspend the cells and examine the macroscopy as well as the microscopy. The positive test result include the RBC agglutination. We move on to the second part, which is indirect Coombs test. Before that, we have to know the example of clinical use of indirect Coombs test. For the first one is blood transfusion preparation, which include antibody screening and also cross-matching. And for the next one is antenatal antibody screening, which to screen pregnant women of IgG antibody that are likely to pass through the placenta into the fetal blood and cause hemolytic disease of newborn. We proceed to the step involved. For the first one, we have to incubate the patient serum or known serum, which added with donor red cell. And then the antigen and antibody complex form. And then we have to wash the cell with 3 times in normal saline to remove the excess serum with no free antibody. And then we have to add 2 drops of Coombs reagent, keep for 5 minutes, and then centrifuge at 1500 rpm for 1 minute. And then we have to resuspend the cell and examine the macroscopy as well as the microscopy. The positive test result indicate when there is an agglutination of the red blood cell.
That's just too much information for me to take in. I'm just a reporter, I'm not doing your work. Anyways, just take my blood, do whatever you want. Let's go save the girl first.
Okay, just follow to proceed with the other procedure. Okay, so
Bye bye.